So we'll start off here. This area here is like a kind of like a nursery, and it's also for microgreens. These are some black sunflower seeds, microgreens that I'm going to be harvesting probably today. I had them covered and let them go a couple of days ago, and they dried out just a little bit. So I got a little bit of water, give them good sun today, and they're going to pop up, and then I'll have to finish picking all those black holes off of them. But these things are fantastic. Taste incredible. All right, so that's the microgreens. There's not a lot left because most things have been transplanted at this point. This is comfrey. It's a super accumulator, so I'm growing it for the all the nutrients it gets into the leaves. It has a really deep taproot, and it pulls a lot of nutrients out of the ground. And then I'll take that and it'll become compost, and I'll use it as ground cover. These are a couple more peppers. I didn't have quite enough, so these were started later than the other ones. We'll see the other ones out there in a bit. So I threw a few more in the pots, and then I'll use that to fill in some space. This is what's remaining of the 128 cell seed trays that I use for getting things started. A lot of herbs in here. So I got parsley, dill, got some, let's see, a couple different kinds of celery, holy basil, lemon basil. I think I got some lemon basil, or regular basil in here too. Yeah, like a Genovese. So I've got a couple of different kinds of herbs growing in there. These guys will be coming out soon, and I'll throw them into the ground. This is cocoa coir. It's a byproduct of harvesting coconuts, but it's really good for using it as a starter for microgreens, and then I'll add it into my soil mix as well. It holds water. It has this amazing property of holding water. These are going to be strawberries. Not sure how well this is going to turn out, but we're going to try it. Didn't cost me anything. I took some really good strawberries we had eaten, and took a few that were starting to get a little overripe, stripped off the outer shell, leathered them, got them good and dried up, put them in a bag, and then put them in the freezer for about a month. And then a week ago, last week, 2 weeks ago, took them out and put them in some potting soil and just slightly covered them, and they're starting to come up. So I'm hoping that maybe it'll work, but I got a total of 10 strawberry seedlings that I'm hoping will get started. This is part of this will be my next batch of microgreens. These are mung beans. I have to soak them for over 6 hours, and then this is a mix of broccoli and kale, and I just put that in there just today. I put this on because it deprives the light and it makes the seed, it simulates being buried, but I don't really want to bury them. What I'm putting them in is not a good enough medium really to grow them. It's just enough to get them started, but that's all I'm trying to do because it's a microgreen. And then I saved about a third of it. Once these guys have soaked out, I'll fill up that side of it, and then I'll actually put some weight on it. And putting the weight on it will force the shoots to be a lot stronger. I'll weight it and cover it for about 3 to 5 days maybe. Probably not more than 4 or 5. And then once they start really coming up good and pushing up on it, I'll actually weight it down with these bricks and stuff. I'll take all that off, and then you just let it start growing on its own. And then you let it grow for another few days. The thing that was fantastic about finding microgreens for me is I can grow these year round. We can't grow lettuce and celery and things like that. Any kind of greens, kale, things like that don't grow well during the summer. So this allows me to keep eating salad greens during the parts of the year when I can't grow those. We'll come out to the main part of the garden. This is my sign that my beautiful daughter, who's filming right now, made for me, JW Farms. So, tomatoes here. These are all Brandywine variety. I've never tried this variety before. This is something I'm doing this year. But I've already got one tomato coming out. You see lots of flowers setting. So I'm hoping it's going to do well. New trellising system as well. I've got T-posts, and you can see that's an inch and a quarter, inch and a half, I can't remember, PVC pipe thing. So, and then this is just half-inch EMT. It's a type of electrical conduit. But it's nice because it's sturdy enough to hold what I need. I can run these lines down. I've got these little plastic clips that connect to the twine or jute or whatever I use, and then that'll support the tomato coming up. And then on the end here, because I had a little bit of room left, I've got 6 more cucumbers that I planted. I'll show you the really big cucumber plants back there, but these were just to fill in because I had room on this trellis system to put something else in here. So I just put another grouping of cucumbers that are a little bit behind the ones that I'm going to show you next. These were beans. Miserable experience in the beans. I kept having a mole come through here, and the mole just kept tearing up the root system, so they just kept dying on me. I couldn't keep them alive. So planted a few more. I'll see if I can get a few beans out of it. I got more in the back, so I'm not worried about it, but kind of just gave up on this little section. I don't think it's going to work out too well. This is a couple of different kinds of greens, salad greens here, and that's another type of salad greens. Those were kind of volunteers. It turns out I didn't even realize it, but dropped some seeds into another pot that I wasn't using for anything, and suddenly salads started coming out. So I grabbed them and transplanted them about a week or 2 ago, and they're doing quite well. So I'm reconfiguring all of it. That part hasn't been done yet, but the rest of it's going to be 30-inch beds with 10 to 12-inch walkway. That's what these stones are marking out. Underneath here is some celery, or not celery, carrots, but they haven't started coming up. This little board trick, what you do is you put the celery seed into some sort of a medium, like the cocoa core or something like that, that'll retain the moisture. And then I'm covering it so that they don't dry out. That's the biggest problem with getting carrots to germinate in Florida is the heat. Once I start seeing them popping up, I'll take the board away and then we'll just keep them well watered. Carrots are always a problem. Carrots are always hard to get started here. So this is a row of different kinds of hot pepper. I didn't even bother to mark which ones are which, but there's some Thai, there's some habanero, there's some jalapeno. As they start fruiting, I'll know which one is which. And then there's going to be 2 rows of this will be bell peppers. I pointed out 3 new seedlings that I've got, and those will finish this row out. This is going to be, these T-posts are going to be for what's called a Florida weave. Not something I made up, but what I'll do is I'll take twine, and then I'll start weaving it all the way to the other end, and it gives you a natural support system for the bell peppers. So I'll have 2 Florida weaves going here that allow the plants to grow up, do well. This is really cool. This is something I've never done before, but I've read a lot about it. It's called a lower and lean system. So these are my cucumbers, and so they'll just grow. This is just jute. They'll grow up the jute. Nothing special about that. But what is cool is this little thing. You can buy them online. I just made my own out of coat hangers. But as this thing grows and gets up towards here, and it can't grow anymore, I'll just flip this over. That gives me 6 inches of slack. They'll drop down, and then I'll lean it over this way. And so what'll happen is the plant will grow up and it'll start going out that way, but they'll all be doing that. And then I'll start trimming the bottoms at that point. And then you'll have like a long leader stem, like the stem part will get longer and longer and longer, but it doesn't matter. It'll just be laying on the ground, it won't grow, it doesn't matter. So it's called a lower and lean system. Something I've never done, but I'm anxious to give it a try. So I've got, what is this, a dozen cucumber plants here, and they're doing really well. In fact, I had to break this one off. This one started to connect up to this leader here, and I just had to put that off this morning to keep them away from each other. This whole back section here, I wasn't even going to do anything with. I didn't have a real need for it, and I hadn't really done a lot to amend the soil. But rather than waste the dirt, first off, I planted 3 rows of black-eyed peas. Black-eyed peas grow year-round. They literally require no effort at all. These guys are doing fantastic too. Look at this. Look at this. The size of that thing. That thing will be that'll be ready to eat like in another 2 weeks probably. I probably won't pick them though. Normally what I do with the black-eyed peas is I let them grow, and they're a nitrogen fixer, so they grab nitrogen and accumulate it into the soil, so I don't have to do as much fertilizing. I don't really do a lot of fertilizing. I don't like to. I'd rather just amend the soil naturally. and this is a great way of doing it. So I'll let these things just die off, and then we'll come in and we'll pick. Alex will help me. We'll get all the brown pods, throw them in a bag, and then you just start shelling them. And this will yield I don't know how many pounds of dried black-eyed peas. And then back here, I've got some sunflowers. I'm really growing these for the seeds because I like doing the microgreens, and the sunflower microgreens are really good. So I just got a handful of them, about maybe a dozen of them growing back here. And pumpkin. We're hoping to get a pumpkin out of our garden maybe this year. Again, wasn't really planning on it. It's not as big a deal, but it's doing good. You can see some, stay right here, I'll move this stuff around. Like you can see the flowers. This particular flower is a male though, so it's not going to produce anything. But there's some females down here as well that are about to start flowering, and if they get pollinated, we'll have pumpkins growing. So I've got a couple of those, and then I got the sunflower resistant interspersed in there. This is a hugelkultur extension that I'm doing. That's a much longer video. Anyways, extending this out, and let's see. Oh, and then the other, yeah, so I talked about the black-eyed peas. This row here, this is 2 rows of black beans. They were pretty old, so I didn't get a lot of germination, but I'll get some germination out of it. Like I said, this whole area really didn't have any plans for just right away, so anything I get is just like a little lagniappe. So I'm definitely going to get a bunch of black-eyed peas, and I'll probably get at least some black beans out of this as well. So that's it. Yeah, carrots, onions will be going in soon. That's all over there. I've got a special blend of soil amendments I've done in that whole area for root vegetables like carrots and onions, and it's heavier in phosphate. That's the key. It's a little bit heavier in the phosphate. So I've done some things to add some minerals and phosphates into that area. Anyways, that's it. And then of course our markers, which is always really cool. I'm really happy about this. My marker from 1964, and then we've got Elena, Ian, Alex. So that's cool. So anyways, cheers. Time to go drink my coffee.